There we go. Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook. Got Eric Naline with me. We got breaking news to discuss, and that is 2025 linebacker Elijah Barnes has committed to Texas out of the Dallas Skyline area, and we're going to add in Coach Dub Charlie Williams, who did a great job of covering this recruitment throughout. We've known that. I think you even had a prediction in as well for Barnes. So what exactly are the Longhorns getting in adding Barnes to the 2025 class?
Yeah, man, they're getting a tremendous athlete that happen to play linebacker, right? You see he posted a sub 1100 meter run and track the other day. But this kid really, really wanted to be a Longhorn, man. And at the end, right, talked to his dad a few days ago. They said, hey, once they make a commitment, that they're not going to change their mind. They want to be somewhere they felt comfortable with, and Texas happened to be it. But they're getting a physical linebacker who can run and play all three downs, if you ask me.
Eric, what are your thoughts on this one? This is, you had mentioned a little bit off air that Jeff Choate had been part of this one for a while, Johnny Nansen now, and of course Sarkisian helping to usher Barnes into the class.
Yeah, I think the best selling point was just the school itself. They love Texas. They love Texas football. And, Charlie did a great job covering this recruitment. Really opened my eyes to how good of UT's chances were. I didn't know Barnes all that well until Charlie really started getting involved in that recruitment. So good job, Charlie. Yeah, he's a big physical running back, or linebacker. They're getting ready to go into the SEC where the guards are a little bit bigger. The running backs are a little bit more physical. You need these big bodies. It's a big body league. So he's not one of those guys that's 198 pounds and they're going to have to hope that, feed him 8 meals a day to get him up to 220. He's coming in with the SEC body. And as Charlie said, he's 10.9 speed, and the kid wants to compete. He's running these 100-meter races knowing he's not going to beat a guy like Caden Durham, but he wants to compete anyways. And you got to love that about him.
Barnes is number 108 overall in the On3 industry ranking, number 14 among linebackers. Number 19 player in Texas. Kind of a swap out with him and Anthony Williams at that linebacker spot. His commitment actually bumps Texas up to the number 7 class. He's the third highest ranked guy in the class behind Lance Jackson and KJ Lacey. And Charlie, that helps give Texas a little bit of a foothold in a very talented part of Dallas. I know Skyline kind of leaks over into the Fair Park, but Fair Park and then Lancaster, Duncanville, Cedar Hill, DeSoto, it's all along that I-20 corridor.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt that 2 former Longhorns are his coaches in Christian Scott and Peter Jenkins, right? Who's definitely probably been in his ear a little bit. Just talking with his dad, they're actually on campus right now taking visits. So his dad just called me and said, yeah, they're in Austin right now. I guess back. They just left on Sunday and now they're back. So, but it's good to see a guy from DFW, the area, commit to Texas. I think a lot of guys from this area may, follow suit, but we'll see.
Man, it must have really been on their mind to commit if they made that trip down to do it in person. You got to like that too.
Definitely.
One of the things, and Coach, we were asked about this last night, and you touched on it a little bit. And here's a comment: when you get the playbook, it's serious. That was something that had been reported apparently that Barnes got a little bit of a taste of the playbook, and I think that kind of illustrates just how far along the process was with Texas, and also just with Barnes in general.
Yeah, definitely. It probably confirms a lot for Coach Nansen and Coach Stark to say, hey, this guy, just kind of quiz him and see what he knows. What has he picked up from just having the playbook, right? So they can see that it's a mutual fit. This guy can learn quick. And it's a guy we probably will get in January when he graduates early. So it's a great thing when you can give a guy a playbook.
Eric, as far as fact pattern, you were talking about that on Twitter yesterday when it comes to Marcus Harris. I'm about to try to look up and see how many visits Elijah Barnes made, but we know he made it to last week's event. Obviously, Charlie, you said he's there on campus right now. He was at a junior day, and he's been going to a bunch of different Longhorn games, I think, over the course of the last year. This is another situation where fact pattern just kind of tells you, all right, we can tell who the real leader is.
Yeah, I don't think there's a ton of surprise that he picked Texas, right? We were not expecting him to commit today. We did not know that was going to happen, but we did expect him to commit to Texas at some point. And a lot of that had to do with the visits. I mean, they've been on campus so frequently, and then we learned a lot of things about them. They pay very close attention to the program, to put it mildly. But yeah, this was trending the right way for a long time, and he knew. I bet he knew a long time before that he wanted to be at Texas, and And today just decided to get it over with. And we got a little recruiting excitement. We didn't have to wait till June or July.
Yeah, and I'm going to the RPMs for him. Did want to give credit to you, Coach. You made a prediction back on February 17th that Barnes was going to pick Texas. Our Justin Wells did the same on March 5th. So this is one that you've had tracked a good way, and I think that leads to a good kind of comment. Where do you go now for linebacker? And then this is kind of looking forward a little bit with Tyanthony Smith and Barnes, but I think that third name is the one that they want to include in this class, if possible, at off-ball linebacker. And, of course, I think there's one more even as well. Eric, I'll let you get to that one. But, yeah, it seems like Pettijohn and Tyanthony Smith would be a good addition and a good group to have here in the coming years if they're able to get that one done.
Yeah, I think Coach has one in for Pettijohn, too. Coach, don't you have an RPM pick in for Pettijohn?
Yeah, actually, I do.
Yeah, and Justin has one in for Pettijohn too, I believe. And I would join him if I was. I don't like to play follow the leader that much, but I do think they're going to end up getting Riley Pettijohn. Again, some of these recruitments go back to Choate. Choate left Johnny Nansen in good standing, and Nansen picked up right where Choate left off. And I think it's going to be a pretty special linebacker class. But we kind of knew that. We expected that. The addition of Nansen was big. He's a great recruiter, but also the state just has a lot of talent. It's hard to find off-ball linebackers. They're just not as common as they once were. A lot of those guys play edge, but this cycle, there's a lot of them in state, and Texas is poised to capitalize on it.
What are we're going to work to get some aspects and even get his huddle up here on the screen. But for both of y'all, I'm just kind of curious what y'all like it just about his game. We obviously have seen the 10.9 speed on the 100, but Coach, I'll go with you first. What do you like about what Barnes is able to offer on the field?
Yeah, he's a linebacker who plays sideline to sideline. Like, he can move. I'm looking at, one clip, he's spying the quarterback, then he jumps up and catches it with one hand, and intercepts it, and then he tries to go score, right? So it has a little bit of a running back mentality, but, playing linebacker. So he's just a guy. He's going to come down here. He's going to strike you, right? He's going to run into an offensive lineman, shock and release, and then make the tackle, which you don't see very much of out of some young linebackers as far as being able to get off blocks and then make a tackle, as you see there on the first clip there. But it's a physical, athletic guy who can run, and he's going to strike you.
Eric, what have you seen from this film? It's the starter kit that he's got. Charlie's mentioned some of the nuance to his game, but it's just the size and speed combination. This guy's not going to get pushed around as Texas gets ready to go into the SEC. And I think he's got the right mindset. I'm always trying to learn as much as I can about the mental side of it. When Charlie goes to a school or Justin goes to a school to talk to a kid, I always want them to dig and find out as much as you can about how the kid's wired. Does he like football? You cannot play linebacker if you don't like football. It's just the position is just too demanding to be good at if you don't like football. So love for the game is important. I think Bo has that. We got a few questions in here we could probably tackle, huh?
Yeah. Which one you thinking over here? I think one of them is about who else joins the class, and this is one of them. Who's more likely, Cunningham or Matai Tagovailoa out of California? And Cunningham is Jonathan Cunningham from Fort Worth, North Crowley, who just actually made a visit yesterday. So
yeah, that's another Charlie guy, right? Charlie, it's Charlie. Somehow you inherited all these linebackers in DFW.
Yeah, actually, I just spoke to Jonathan, man. He enjoyed his visit. Seeing those guys fly around in practice, similar to what Elijah Barnes said, and a lot of other guys who've been on campus, like seeing the practice live, seeing those guys fly around, seeing the communication between coaches and players really stuck out to a lot of these players. And Cunningham said he loved his visit, got to meet with Coach Sark and Coach Nansen, and that he can fit and play multiple positions, not just linebacker. They can kind of move him around. He has the ability to cover as a DB, he has the speed of a DB, but he's physical and can play linebacker as well. So kind of like a Mo Blackwell type. And, yeah, I could see Jonathan jumping in. He enjoyed his visit, so we'll see.
Let's talk to KD35 here. Marco Jones is mentioned. Marco Jones is out of San Ramon Valley in Danville, California, the Bay Area. He's actually grown into an edge. Marco told me he's up to 6'5", 240, 230 or 240, I think he said. And he's, I think he still likes Texas. I expect him to visit at some point. But right now I would figure him more as edge, and not just an edge. He'd probably be jack, which would be the strong side defensive end. So he's a big kid. I'm not sure I don't think he's being considered a linebacker anymore.
What about this one? Another one from who does Texas or what does Texas view potentially Nasir Wyatt as? More of an edge or a linebacker?
He's a linebacker. He plays edge in high school. Obviously, Katie's certainly seen his video. If you ask that question, that's a smart question. Yeah, he's more of an inside linebacker for Texas. He does play edge a lot. But that's what we said, that a lot of those guys, a lot of those players in high school, like, Jeffrey McCullough played edge in high school. Malik Jefferson played edge a lot in high school. It's just a way that they can get those guys, their best athletes, to affect the passing game more often. So there's always a transition period, and that's part of the evaluation. You got to understand, because you're not going to have as much tape on some of those guys that play edge to understand how well they process. The processing speed is everything for linebacker.
Do y'all have a comparison off the top of your head for Bo Barnes?
Oh man, how many guys are 230 pounds running 10.9? I'd have to think about that. I hate comparison questions, Joe. You got to quit putting me on that spot. I'm gonna think about it. Give me a minute.
Charlie, do you have one?
Initially, when I saw him playing a little running back, I know he's not Sergio Kendall, but that's the only person I can think of, size and pure speed wise. But I think he's more of a linebacker than Sergio was. So
we got another good question from our good friend David Keith Williams. And sorry, you're getting blocked a little bit, Charlie. Think a 2025 class of Elijah Barnes and Riley Pettijohn could eventually develop into a linebacker duo comparable to Jordan Hicks and Emmanuel Acho in 2011 and Malik Jefferson and Gary Johnson in 2017. See, when I think about this, I think of three, those defenses had three linebackers that I feel like were of a certain quality, because wasn't number one Keenan Robinson on that 2011 team? Or was that just the year? Yeah, so that was a third linebacker. That 2017 team, I know Gary Johnson and Malik Jefferson got most of the action. Anthony Wheeler was there as well. You need three linebackers, and I think that's what Texas is trying to get with, adding Barnes, trying to get Pettijohn, and then trying to get one more. Likely, they want to get Tagovailoa, but that USC commitment's going to be tough, and they want to get Marco Jones, but that's going to be another tough battle. But I mean, the number is 3 at this position, right? Because you're going to lose David Benda, you're going to lose Kendrick Blackshire.
I think they're going to take they just lost Samaje Burrell, remember? Speaking of Crowley, so that's an extra spot. They only took one last year in Ty Anthony Smith. Early returns on Ty Anthony are very, very positive. He's going to take a little bit of time to add some muscle. But yeah, I think they could take 4 this cycle. Maybe 3 is their number. Obviously, Pettijohn's got a spot through the entire cycle. Maybe 3, but I think it's such a good cycle, not just in Texas, but in California and in other parts of the country where they might want to press it to 4.
This is kind of my view on it. Like Stone 3, need all 3 of them. Go Stark. Shout out Bo Barnes. Here's another good question from Dave H. Will we see a couple more commits from guys trying to secure their spot in the class in the coming weeks before OVs, or does the timeline stick to most likely after OVs? Just law of averages says that maybe 1 or 2 might make a decision, but when these players that Texas is after, they're going to go see Texas. A lot of them are going to see, LSU, A&M, Georgia. Like, there may be a few leans that they may try to get into the boat, and who knows, maybe they try to do that this upcoming weekend. But I feel like for the most part, they're going to wait till, kitchen table time after all the official visit opportunities are taken up. I can't think of another player kind of in the Ricky Stewart situation, or even, as we were talking right now with Elijah Barnes maybe wanting to jump in after.
Let me see what John. Let me go through my notes and see what John Mills told me recently, because John was one I was watching, the big offensive lineman out of San Francisco. That's something you don't say every day. But some of these guys, it's everybody's situation is different, right? Some guys, if someone jumps in, they might lose their spot. So there are some situations to watch. I think that's definitely true at defensive back. I think Texas is in good shape with more defensive backs than they can actually take. So I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody, a defensive back, jump in just to secure their spot. But, you never know. We're asking them guys left and right, but most of them are saying, John Mills says he wants to take more time. I think that one's trending on a very, very good line, though. But yeah, you never know, man. They might, if they feel a little bit of pressure, if they're watching another kid that might commit and take their spot, that could motivate them to jump in sooner.
I'm looking through our recruiting notebook. It's a piece of content on Inside Texas that offers evaluations. We did one in February on Barnes, and Ian Boyd wrote, "Something's changed in the state of Texas, and top high school athletes are starting to play more inside linebacker again. At his size, Barnes could easily play outside linebacker and rec shop working the edge, but instead he's learning how to read flow and scrape into a position. Those are valuable reps, and he could probably play either off-ball linebacker spot." Charlie, you wrote something similar when you evaluated all the other linebacker options that Texas is recruiting. And did you see something similar in that, and that he could play both spots and is better suited for off the ball than trying to stick at edge?
One of the things I saw out of all the linebackers that they're interchangeable. I feel like they all can kind of cross train and play multiple spots. So you probably won't even get a key on who's playing Mike, who's playing Will, or strong side linebacker. I think those guys can move around and play multiple positions. I think Elijah definitely can do that with his speed. And it's one thing in common that all these guys have. They all can run, right? And they have not just run straight line speed. They actually can flip their hips a little bit and maybe cover a guy up the seam, in Tampa too, or play the hook curl flat. Like, they can get out there and move and get their head on the swivel. So I feel like they can play all three spots. He can anyway.
If you look at the class rankings, like I mentioned, with the addition of Elijah Barnes, Texas is now number 7 in the on-3 rankings. They are 1 behind Alabama. They are 1 ahead of Florida State. And they have that only with 6 commits. All 6 are 4 stars, and their average ranking, average grade is 91.55. So they're getting some quality high 4-star prospects. Of course, a lot of these 5 stars, like the Jamie Frenches, like the, Khalil Lockett's, are going to wait and they're going to go on those visits like we mentioned. But this is a case where this is one of the top targets that Texas had at the position, and they wanted to make sure they got it done. So I'm curious, Charlie, you mentioned that they are heading to campus this evening, or are on campus right now.
They're on campus now, taking a visit as we speak.
So, I mean, when you get those opportunities to, welcome a commitment, or if you're the Barnes family, what are you doing when you're going into that office and trying to deliver the good news?
Yeah, I think they just what kind of family he comes from, and talking to his mom and dad. I felt like that is a family that probably would go commit in person, right? They want to look you in your eye and let you know, hey, I'm coming to commit to you. I'm not looking at any other schools. And so just the kind of background they come from. But I think they just want to get more of a feel of the actual school. I think they've seen athletic facilities. They've been around practice, been around the guys, seen the depth chart, seen the board, recruiting board, and, knows where he stands. So now it's like, let's get more of a feel of the actual school. And I think that's what they're doing today.
I think this comment's pretty interesting and worth noting from Football Junkie. Hill has every top linebacker in Texas wanting to be a Longhorn. And I think that had to do a lot, not only on the recruiting trail with getting that flip, because that was a big flip. That was a contested recruitment heading into the summer of 2022, where, visits were the fact pattern. And he went into, that late summer trip to College Station. Of course, flips down the road, I think in either late November or early December. And then he comes and has a standout season there on the 40 acres, earning freshman All-American honors and playing at a high level, makes him look like a 3-year player early. That stands out to these recruits. It's probably a big part of why Ty Anthony Smith, even in a very pro A&M area of the state, decided that Texas was the place for him. And that's even amidst, linebacker coaching changes. So I think Anthony Hill, not just from being a well-known player within the Metroplex and a 5-star, but being a guy who flipped pretty cleanly from Texas A&M to Texas, and then went on to a very strong season with the Longhorns, obviously going to the playoff, has paid off a lot of dividends and has done the same here for the Longhorns with Elijah Barnes. Any other questions? Any other big storylines y'all want to cover on this one, or time to try to get some more background on how the commitment went down?
Yeah, we kind of need to get to work on this, but Williams, David, I definitely want to see that Ty Smith, Bo Barnes, Riley Pettijohn, all those guys playing behind that front. That's reason for a lot of excitement. The way that they're recruiting is why that Texas is going to be reloading every cycle or every season rather than rebuilding. Sark has got them on a great path. Bo Barnes is it's set up well for Texas, and they still hit it right down the fairway. So I guess I got a little Masters on my mind there, but it's a big day for Texas. I like it when I get a surprise like that because I didn't think he was going to commit that quick.
And this is always a great lead in into what should be a good recruiting weekend for Texas. Got a lot of targets here in town, planning to see the scrimmage tomorrow. They got a little bit of momentum, a little bit of buzz. Sounds like Barnes is going to be there in order to give the pitch to some other prospects and just help feed the momentum on the trail that Texas has. So make sure you head to Inside Texas. We're going to have a lot more coverage of this commitment of the entire weekend of everything recruiting related. You can get 2 months of access at Inside Texas for just $1 if you use the code IT1. Thank you for joining us, for watching this breaking news video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll have a lot of stuff, a lot of reaction to this, both on this channel and on Inside Texas. And we'll see you next time on the Inside Texas YouTube channel, powered by